Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brenda Rogers. I am the chair of the Standing Committee of First Parish Unitarian Universalist of Chelmsford. I should say I'm the latest in a long line of standing committee chairs that goes, several of which are here, that goes all the way back to 1655 when the church and the town came into being together at the same time. So thanks for coming this afternoon for this dedication of this wonderful new transformation that we have in our building to make it more accessible, to make it more welcoming in line with our values at this church. So thanks for coming and sharing this with us. So, and now I'm going to turn the mic over to one of the instigators of this wonderful, wonderful project, Mr. John Snyder.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you for your leadership. I would thank all the chairs of the Standing Committee going back to 1655, but I was told to be brief, so I'm going to avoid that. So, hello and good afternoon. I've been asked to provide a brief history of the project. So let me just say this. Building an elevator here at First Parish had its, now wait for it, many ups and downs. Many, many years of ups and downs. But the time is now, the day has come. Thank God it's only 1 o'clock. Glad we didn't do this at noon. The time is now, the day has come to celebrate our good work. And we should all feel proud. Because this work was not just about installing an elevator. Tom and Walter might disagree, but in some ways that was the easy part. What this work was truly about was being faithful to this congregation's covenant. What began over a decade ago as a project about adding physical space for our own growth needs evolved over the years to creating space that expresses who we are as a covenantal community. And that's a very significant change, and it's why we succeeded in the end. Covenants are powerful tools for expressing one's commitment. Covenants connect UUs to each other, the church, and to a higher power. They represent an expression of faith. We covenant together to live our faith in the world. But we were not ready to find the leadership, capacity, and will to make this work happen until we were willing to ask ourselves this hard question. Was the proposed renovation aligned with our covenant? Answering that question was not easy work to do. We needed time, church time we called it, to find the answer and determine our way forward. What is church time, you ask? Let's just say that there is no church time calendar, no nifty app to record church time on your phone. Church time is a process, confusing, too lengthy for some, filled with fits and starts, but necessary, so very necessary for connecting covenant to action. When we collectively understood that this work wasn't about growth, but about accessibility, wasn't about me, but about you, we were able to move forward with our plans. Church time was time well spent. We used it to our advantage. What a wonderful, accessible, truly modern space we now have to worship, serve others, and our community, and to grow. Yes, grow. I believe we will grow as a congregation because we are people willing to live in covenant, to take action for what we believe, something our world needs now more than ever. So at the end of the day, for a congregation that's been around since 1655, what's a decade to decide what to do? Just a tiny blimp in our history, really. But like generations before us and generations still to come, we discovered why living in covenant matters so much to people of this faith community. The time has come, the day is now, to celebrate our good work. Hallelujah and amen.
I'm honored to be here. As I mentioned to Jim, I'm a lapsed UU. I grew up in Winchester, and actually I know Aaliyah. She walked up, I was like, Aaliyah, oh, hey. So Aaliyah was a student minister there when I was there in high school many years ago, and I won't share how long in case, Aaliyah is sensitive about her age. But it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for all you do. Whereas the First Parish Church was founded in 1655, with the church vestry serving as the town hall until 1879, and the church steeple still houses the town clock. And whereas the First Parish Church partners with the community, hosting several community groups, including the Table of Plenty from 2010 to 2018, and offering its parking lot for many community events, including the July 4th Fair and the Farmers Market. And whereas the church has been making this building more accessible in phases since the 1980s when the elevator was first installed, and the congregation agrees that in order for its building to reflect its faith, it needs to not just be accessible but truly welcoming. And whereas the First Parish Church held a capital campaign raising over $650,000, funded by a few outside donations and mostly by parishioners. And whereas renovations included installation of a new self-service elevator, interior and exterior ramps, addition and renovation of bathrooms, and reconfiguration of classroom and office space. Now therefore, the Chelmsford Select Board does hereby acknowledge the First Parish Church as it celebrates the opening of its newly renovated and accessible worship and community space, and do commend this celebration to all of our citizens.
When we started the work of figuring out how to raise enough money to support our goal of a fully accessible and welcoming building, I wondered to myself how we would ever be able to get the funds that we needed. Now, we can all imagine a renovation project like this and what it would cost. I won't go into the dollar details, but I truly wondered how we would get those funds. Then we did what smart people do. We engaged a subject matter expert, namely Brian Racci of Cornerstone Fundraising. He helped us, guided us, and prodded us through the process of positioning, of planning, and of executing the plan. Cornerstone provided the tools, Edith Murphy came up with the Lift Us Up theme, and Ellen and the congregation provided the heart and the spirit. As a result, we dug deep into our pockets and wallets. We raided our savings, we broke open our piggy banks, cashed in stocks, whittled down our personal free cash to redirect it to the campaign, created a 3 or 4 year giving schedule to fulfill our pledges, and then we surpassed our giving goal by over 20%. We are truly blessed to have such a compassionate and giving congregation that supported our need to enhance our building, our community, and this wonderful town of Chelmsford. You can see all those who contributed on the new donor plaque near the elevator. You cannot miss it. It's 2 feet by 3 feet wide. And guess what? There's room for more names. Just saying. And speaking of names, as co-chair, along with John Schneider, I give my sincere thanks and recognition to the Capital Campaign Committee. Edith Murphy, Mara Snow, Deb Grad, Caroline McMullen, and Rosemary McMullen. Those are the people who worked diligently to help us meet the fundraising portion of our finances. Fundraising that truly lifted us up. We really did it. Tom?
Hi, my name is Tom Coffey, and this is a very exciting day. I'd like to welcome the Town of Chelmsford representatives, clergy, friends of First Parish, and of course the congregation. I have been very honored and very proud to work on this project in a leadership role, and I'm very proud to be able to recognize some people today. And I think you're going to come up and get a flower from our favorite reverend. So first, and I don't see them here, in addition to hiring a fundraising consultant, we hired two other professionals. We hired architectural consulting services, Jay Mason and Will. They're based out of Lowell. They were fabulous, easy to work with, and I don't think I see Jay here. Highly recommend them for the future. Secondly, we hired as our contractor North Hill Construction out of Westford. Walter Lorette is the principal owner of that company, and he has several folks that work for him, and in particular Chad and Mike were here on a daily basis and were really fantastic and easy to work with. I want to acknowledge the leads of a few committees. We split the project into three different themes. We had a project sort of nuts and bolts team that worked with the contractor, that worked with the architect. And then we had Jim and John led the fundraising effort, and Dave Caffeine and Doug Snow led the financing efforts, because we had to finance some of this with Enterprise Bank. So I want to thank those guys for leading the teams and also the members of those teams. And actually, I don't know who else was on the finance team. I don't think there was anyone else. I think it was just those two guys. There were several people who worked with me on the nuts and bolts, so we call it the project team. And we worked with the architect as we came up with the plan for the building. We interviewed contractors and finally selected North Hill Construction. Some of those are current members with me, and then there were others who were previously on that committee, because as the 10 years went along the way, this actual project took 3 years once we agreed to start doing it. It takes a lot of time. So when we last checked in, Walter Cole, Ron Cook, Leslie Yakos, Dee Halzel, and Chris Sweetnam were all on the team, and each took leadership roles within the team, which I won't mention today, but I appreciate that. Then we had some folks that were on this team. Again, it took 3 years before we got this thing off the ground, that spent some time with us and later left the team, and I want to acknowledge them as well. Anna Wolf, Don Hayden, Ron DeShane, John Schneider, and Joan Keene. I want to make a second and special recognition to Walter Cole again. When he agreed to be on the team, and he was a late addition to the team. I signed him late. He didn't realize he was going to be here every day in the summer. Sometimes I was here too, but he was here pretty much every day once we had hired the contractor, and I greatly appreciate the help, and this thing wouldn't have happened if he didn't jump in when he did, and I want to mention him again. And as John alluded to earlier, we had numerous meetings as we built up consensus and realized that this was something we felt we needed to do over several years. And there were some folks behind the scenes that helped me when I prepared for these things. And I want to thank Ruth Crockett, Carlene Merrill, and actually John, again, who helped me prepare and help us all as we went through these things. And we have a group of elves that they have a cute name. I don't know how they came up with their name, but the Department of the Interior. So before we started the project, I don't know if you've moved lately, but when you accumulate things over the years, we had lots of stuff everywhere. And they went through for several months and emptied out things and cleaned out the church so that when we did have to finally go and move stuff to temporary storage, we'd have less things to move. So there was quite a bit of effort that happened before the demolition started. And then once we went through the project, which began in June, we thought we could start church services in September, and we did. But as you might imagine, there was still some dust at times. We actually put sprinklers in our sanctuary, in the attic above the sanctuary. So there would be times when we were moving all the pews. There was holes being drilled through the ceiling, and then there on Sunday mornings we needed to have a worship service. I don't believe we had any worship services outside of the sanctuary once we started. So once again, those elves on the Department of Interior were coming in on Fridays, Saturdays, and maybe early on Sundays, so that we had a sanctuary that we could use for service, and we want to thank them all for their efforts. And a couple last mentions. Rose, Lyra, and Dee went through a considerable amount of work to try to plan ahead and see what our storage needs would be, because if you look at that elevator, it's much larger than the old elevator we used to have, and then we now have 6 bathrooms instead of 3. So we were taking space away from the area that existed previously, whether it was meeting space or closet space. So Rose and Dee put a good amount of effort into making sure we were going to plan ahead for that, and I want to thank them both as well. We all need to thank Cindy Gist, because she put up with me. And she was working out of her home, or we had a small office in the back that she was trying to operate out of and share with 3 other people. So she was enormous support to me and helped me and other members of the team, and I want to thank her for that.
Cindy, we're giving you a Purple Heart.
And finally, you guys here in the congregation, I want to thank all of you. Arguably, this is one of the most complicated things we've ever done. But we, as John mentioned, we had a mission, we had a vision. We wanted to make our building welcome and accessible to all. And I want to thank you how you trusted and you assumed best intentions. I can remember planning for meetings and trying to think of all the questions you were going to ask us and what we were going to say. And we were never going to think of all the answers. And you guys got that. And you trusted us and the leadership team that moving forward. And I really thought it worked out very well. I thought it was much easier than we all thought. This is one of the proudest things that I've ever been involved in. I'm so proud of what we did. I'm so proud to have played a role in it. And I thank you all again for your time and your effort. And thanks everyone for being here.
Who's Jay Mason?
And of course, didn't say who I was. I'm Reverend Ellen Spiro. I have the joy of serving as the minister for this incredible congregation. And Tom, this is for you. Thank you for being our project manager. Not easy.
Jay Mason is here.
And Jay has arrived. Wonderful, Jay. Thank you. This is our architect. We have a lot of cake and a lot of snack, because we believe in snack here. It's one of our core principles. It's not in our covenant, but it's sort of our implicit covenant.
It's the 8th principle.
Is snack. But we're going to cut ribbons and sing before we can have food, because you can't have food till you have to sing, right? But there are 2 other recognitions in addition to Tom, that I wanted to point out. Again, Cindy, God bless you a million times. I just don't know. I also wanted to thank Table of Plenty, who, I have to go get the flowers. Table of Plenty used our space when they started out and gave a significant donation, and for that we're grateful. We miss you guys so much.
We miss you too. Thank you all.
That was part of our meeting. And Pamela and Jane. One of the folks who loved this building with her whole life, her body and her soul, and who always had a vision of how we could be better, was Johann Mackenzie. That steeple work, she supervised that. And Johann was part of our vision for making our building accessible as well, and unfortunately she passed away before she could see its fruition, but we remember her in every nook and cranny of this place. So you know, in a way. And also, I was thinking, when I first came, then we had another person who loved this building named Norm Osberg. It was very important to Norm to have a dry space when he tried to unlock the door. And so he came up with this idea, and it was Johan who made it happen. And when we switched, we moved our entrance, Norm's portico came with the entrance. So always in the life of our church, the stories, it's not just the building, it's the stories that go with all of it. I think it's time to cut ribbon, yes? So I would like to invite Walter, if you would cut that ribbon, and Sarah Manning, who was our standing committee chair for 2 years during this building project. I asked her to come cut the other. And while they're doing that, we are going to sing. There's a song on the back of your order of service.
Hold on, Ellen.
Do we need more? One at a time, sure. Paul first and then Sarah. Okay. So, Walter, you can cut during the first verse. You can cut during the second verse. All right. And I think there are enough First Parish here that we can carry the tune. Jeff, you arrived too. Jeff also gave very generously. Thank you so much. And thanks for coming today. So, First Parish folks, help me sing. May nothing evil cross this door, and may your fortune never bright about these windows may the road and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This heart, though all the world grow chill, will keep you warm. Ye shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in. Please join us. You can come in this way. You can go in that other door. We have tour guides with ribbons that are giving tours. You can come see the whole building from top to bottom. The renovations are quite remarkable. And please, come on in and join.
Really, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen and the town of Chelmsford, we really want to congratulate you and welcome you for this fabulous facility. It's so warm and peaceful, and as we were saying earlier, it really does provide a sense of relief and calmness in all of our hectic lives. So again, we wish you all the success, and we thank you for your investment in time and resources there in beautiful North Chelmsford.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. All right, so I'm going to count down so that we can all get this on film. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
One thing I have to say here, the purpose pulses through me, and today I feel the pulse in all of you, the same pulse. Thank you so much again. Thank you.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Hello and welcome back to the Chelmsford News Show. I'm Tom Christiano. Well, and I'm here with the owner of the Studio, which we'll talk about, Sanjyot Lupo. Is that the correct pronunciation, Sanjyot?
Yes, Tom. I truly do not care how my name is pronounced. Really, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter?
At all.
But Sanjyot?
Yeah, Sanjyot. Yes.
Sanjyot?
Yeah. like the sun. And then
Lupo.
Joe, yeah, so Lupo like the wolf.
And we're at your home studio. Do you want to say where it is, Sanjyot?
Yes, Home Studio is located on 70 Princeton Street, North Chelmsford, and of course it's Mass. We know that when Tom is taping us.
Yeah, that's right. For the Chelmsford News.
Yes. Thank you, Tom, first of all, for doing this. Yeah.
Oh, my pleasure. You have a lot of my paintings up here at your studio.
Oh, absolutely. The pleasure is mine to have your paintings because the truth is they so well fit in the kind of vibrant silks that we have that they've made home for 2 years now. And
2 years now, yes.
Generous of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So could you tell us what's going on with the ribbon cutting today, Sanjyot?
So the ribbon cutting is interesting because we have been here for quite a bit, like 2 years approximately. But recently, Lisa, the director, Lisa Maroney, the director of business at the town of Chelmsford, suggested that, have you done ribbon cutting for your studio? And that's when I said, no, we should then. And that's all it started. And I said, we decided to do this ribbon cutting, which is great for the community to know that there's a studio in your backyard for the Chelmsfordians, at least.
And the type of studio that you have here, the type of classes you offer, Sanjyot?
Oh, yes. And actually, I am truly excited because the classes that have been that we offer are very unique, very, very unique in terms of like what they do for you. Aerial yoga is one of the most popular offerings of ours, and then we have Bolly Flow Yoga, which is like dance, Bollywood freestyle dancing, and yoga, Vinyasa Yoga, which is then it becomes hot, naturally hot. The third thing is really the dancing, which I am totally fond of, and hopefully we'll get Tom one day to dance, the Bollywood dancing. And,
I love Bollywood dancing.
Yeah, today we might break out into a flash dance if we feel up to it. So that's really the key. And the floating meditation is to die for, is what people say. No pun intended. It's the shavasana in the silk cocoons. So that's what it is. Yeah.
And you have a beautiful facility here. It's across the street from that restaurant. What's it called? The Enterprise now, or something?
The restaurant is now establishment.
Establishment,
Yeah.
yes.
We are in the mill buildings across the establishment restaurant, and it is really a building that is historic, and it's practically, it was a warehouse, and it has turned into this beautiful place with a vast expanse of the window looking into Merrimack River. It's beautiful. I'm grateful for it. I'm really thankful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. We're having the ribbon cutting in a few minutes, so I don't want to keep you long today, Sanjyot, but could you give your contact information if people want to ask you how to get in touch or take classes? Do you have an email address or a phone number?
Sure. Thank you, Tom, for asking. This is the most important thing, and actually...
or a website.
Yeah, website. But I really, right now we are small, and so we do take text messages as well as cell phone calls, and the number for that is 978-302-6249, and that's the number to reach, and text as well. And the website is omstudiocentral.com, and Google us. We are pretty high in the ranking there too.
omstudiocentral.com. Very easy, right?
Yes.
OM for the omstudiocentral.com.
Yes.
Beautiful, Sanjyot.
And one thing I will leave you with is no place like Om. And this was...
Easy to remember then. No place like Om.
Google that, you will see us.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for talking with us today, Sanjyot. I'm looking forward to the ribbon cutting and visiting you many, many more times in the future. You have a great facility here. The people here are all wonderful, and the classes that you teach and other people teach here are fantastic.
Thank you.
I've taken some of them in the past. I've been here, as you know, a few times, and I love it over here.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate the appreciation. Any time. I appreciate you as well, and all of you. Thank you.